Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Heal, Nourish, Grow podcast. And if you have been listening for a while, you might have noticed that I have been a little bit absent. And some of you know that I moved out to Utah. So the podcast has been on a little bit of a hold, but we are back. And I am excited to kick off being back on the air officially with two lovely women that I have here with me today, and that is Gina and Sherry. And they will get the privilege of me being maybe slightly rusty, but I think it should all be fine. So, welcome to both of you. Before we get started, I'm just going to share with the audience. I don't think I've ever had actually two guests at the same time on the show before. So that'll be really fun. And these two ladies have been like best friends since high school. So we're going to hear all this really interesting backstory between the two of them. I'm going to let Sherry start. So Sherry, if you're watching on video, hopefully their names show up, but Gina has the lovely dark brown, luscious hair, and Sherry has the lovely blonde luscious hair, which we'll get to later in the podcast, probably why that is and why I'm mentioning that. But Sherry, why don't you get started and just tell everybody a little bit about your health journey and how you got interested in being in this space and sharing your story.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, like what happens in life is sometimes we have a very, serious health scare. And that could also be the biggest blessing ever, because for me, it was, when I was 30 years old and I was on maternity leave from the corporate world. And while I was pregnant, I felt a lump right here. And they just, oh, it's probably just your thyroid. No big deal. We'll look at it when like maybe 3 months or so after you give birth. Well, right after my son was born, I just, you just kind of feel in your gut, like something's not right. Like it's way big. I went in there like immediately after he was born. And 2 weeks after he was born, they diagnosed me with Hodgkin's lymphoma. And I had to go immediately into chemo and radiation. And I had to bound my breasts stop from breastfeeding. And it just like hit me. And I didn't know anything, because I wasn't really studying the natural health space or anything. So I just didn't know anything. And I just went into it, and it scared me because my brother had that same exact cancer, Hodgkin's lymphoma, and he got a secondary cancer from all the harsh treatment, the chemo and radiation. By the time he was 25, he got like from the radiation here, he got like a cancer in his glands. And then he ended up passing away. So that already happened. So I just went into chemo radiation. I was freaked out. And as soon as that was done, I just did a deep dive into natural health. I said, I have to change my genetic expression. I got to figure out how to get this stuff out of my body. I need to change my life because I'm a mom now, and moms are warriors, And so I needed to be here for the long haul. And so that's when it started. And that was like, I just needed to do things. I went back to college, took photography as a hobby, and I dove into natural health. And so, and then all these blessings started to birth from that. I really like you, Cheryl, because I know about your health journey. Getting rid of carbs was really, one of the best things I ever did. Sugar and carbs, and just a really clean, healthy diet. I would say I probably eat, I would say close to paleo with full fat dairy kind of way of eating. And it suits me. And I've done a lot of work with functional medicine doctors. You kind of learn about your own body and self. And, I made homemade bone broth to help nourish my body. It has a lot of trace minerals, a lot of collagen in there. I added more collagen to help rebuild my body from all that chemo and radiation destruction. And then also make regular detoxing, hot yoga, sweating it out, far infrared, hot Epsom salt baths. You just like regularly put the toxins out and regularly put the nutrients in, and it just changed my life. My energy went up. I was just like, wow, my ideal weight went into place, all these things. Like I wasn't trying to be trim and, look my best. I was just trying to feel my best and have the best health. And then by doing that, all those other benefits come along, So, and so now it's been, 24 years, and I'm healthy as a horse. It's just like I've hardly ever get sick. I mean, I can't even, I think I got a cold like once in the past 15 years. And I feel so good. I am so grateful for having cancer and going through that, because it's really educated me and And I love to talk about it with people like you, CHERYL, and, all of us in the space. It's just a beautiful thing on how we're helping other women, mostly, and men, stand beside them through their health journeys, because it's real. It's real. I mean, if you don't take care of yourself, it catches up to you, in one way or another. And it's amazing how powerful food is, how food and nutrition make a huge difference. Yeah.
Yeah, Sherry,
And
wow. I mean,
sunlight and, a lot of things.
yeah, we'll go more into that. And before we move on to Gina, just a couple of follow-up questions there. First of all, I'm so sorry about your brother, and my family is strongly affected by cancer too. I don't know if that's in my bio in the about part on my website, but that probably should be, because again, you said, and hearing your story now, I feel the same way, like a lot of similarities in our backgrounds. But to kind of follow up, so you said that's been quite a long time ago now, which is awesome that you've been cancer-free for that long and look amazingly healthy, like just really vibrant. Can you kind of go back to that time, and just for people who might be experiencing something similar, you said you kind of did a deep dive into the research. You started just really trying to take care of yourself a lot better. What were maybe some of the very first things that you implemented and things that you thought were the most helpful when you're in that very critical stage of healing from cancer? So now, you're 20 some years out and you're still doing all these healthy behaviors. But in that first year after the diagnosis and you found out these things and you were dealing with the chemo and the radiation, what were some of the things that you found most helpful?
Gosh, reading a lot of books on natural health. It's interesting because, when I was like in high school, I remember I was really into this one book called Fit for Life by Harvey and Marilyn Diamond. Talked about food combining natural health, and I, and now that this cancer happened, it really, because I was a kid, I never really stuck to it. I always had like in the corporate world, let me just paint a picture. I'd get up, get ready, go to work. On the way to work, go through the coffee drive-through, get a cafe mocha loaded with sugar and whipped cream and a chocolate chip scone warmed up. And I'd eat that every day on the way to work. I'd work like a maniac. And about 3 o'clock, I'd eat lunch, come home, eat dinner, have a glass of wine, and never exercise, never get any sun, never get any fresh air. And, I changed. And so I really implemented those natural health, even that I learned a little bit in high school. What I craved, it was interesting. I could feel my body craving healthier choices, So I read a lot. I immediately just started eating more, like buying organic fruits and vegetables, understanding. I tried to go a little bit like no meat, but I couldn't do that with myself. I learned about so many things. Like I'm a type O blood positive. So I don't know, they say that that's a kind of more of a meat eater, so like I said, like I figured out for me, the paleo with full fat dairy works for me, and it was interesting too, because when I got rid of all the carbs, I always had a mucus issue, like sinus infection, mucus issue. And when I was a kid, the doctors would say, oh, you're allergic to dairy. No, I'm not. Because as soon as I got rid of all the carbs, all my mucus went away. I have never had an issue, and I have never had a sinus infection. And I eat high quality, like I love raw dairy. Raw dairy has so much more nutrients in it with enzymes and all that stuff. So I have like heavy cream raw dairy in my coffee every morning. I mean, I eat high quality aged cheeses, and, I have no issue with mucus. It's just interesting, and I think reading from different functional medicine type experts and different podcasts, and I learned from people like you, CHERYL, like what's worked for you. I've learned from functional medicine doctors. It's just really doing that deep dive, and it's evolving. I'm still learning because I'm just going through perimenopausal, and that's been a whole nother world. I've gotten my arms around. I'm starting to feel amazing again because I started to go down the hill and I realized my hormones were done. So now I've raised them back up with bioidentical hormones, getting my iron back up because I lost iron from the perimenopausal phase because I went to heavy bleeding. I didn't, I'm like, what's that about? So you start feeling different. So I'm feeling amazing, about that. You just learn, and everybody's different. Everyone is so different. I even have the MHTFR gene mutation. I don't know if you've heard of that, but that, you have to take methylated vitamin B. You have to stick with folate vitamin B options and not folic acid. And, so I got that back balanced, and And when you have that gene mutation too, you don't detox as easy as other people. So you really have to make sure you're doing a lot of regular detox, stuff. Like I'm back doing hot yoga, which I'm thrilled because I literally sweat buckets, like buckets. And I drink water like this much. I put the trace minerals in there and everything. And when I'm done with class, I'm so happy. I don't know how to explain it. I just feel so good because my body just needs to detox, and it doesn't detox as easy as other people because of that gene mutation, which, and it's great because like the functional medicine doctor that I go to now, you have to, you don't put your health in one person's hands. It's in your hands. You're the director of your health. You use a whole team of health avenues between individual people like you, CHERYL, where I learned from, and functional medicine doctors, and my own experience in nutrition, and you just put it all together. So when I go to see my functional medicine doctor, I co-collaborate with her. Okay, let's check all the blood. She knows a bunch of stuff I learned from, and I tell her, okay, I also want to check this. I also want to do this. Are you familiar with this? And then, we work as a team. So you really have to trust yourself. You have to be the center of your own health, like be your own director, So
yeah, and I think nothing points that
important.
out more. Absolutely. Nothing points that out more obviously than you didn't wait 3 months because you felt something was wrong with your body. And thank goodness you went right away, because you just never know, how quickly those processes go on. And we'll have to come back to the hot yoga at some point, because I feel like you must be like long lost twin or something, because I actually taught hot yoga for years.
I'm saying. CHERYL, no, I think you might be my sister or something.
I don't know. We have to ask some parents what's going on here. But anyway, I think it's a good segue and a good break that we'll go on to Gina's story. And then at some point I'll have you two kind of go back and forth a little bit with like some of your like kind of way back history, because I just think that would be kind of entertaining for people. But Gina, it would be great now if you could please share, some of your health journey. And then after that, we'll kind of go into how you guys know each other.
Sure. Yeah. So I, as a child and into my teens, suffered with getting chronic bladder infections. And so I was constantly being put on antibiotics. I have a condition called interstitial cystitis. And a lot of people don't know what that is, but it's basically the lining in your bladder is super sensitive. And so you're more prone to get bladder infections, but you can also feel like you have one when you don't. And so in my early 20s, I had a urologist who just put me on a daily dose of antibiotics, and it just destroyed my gut. So between dealing with the IC and now the gut issues, I was just a wreck. So I had to, be my own advocate because it was just destroying me, the antibiotics. So I kind of took matters into my own hands as well, especially after going to a urologist and them wanting to prescribe a medication that is now off the market because it destroys people's livers. And I didn't really know anything. I was, by that time I was like, my early 30s. And, 2 little kids, and they wanted me to go in and get my blood checked every 6 months. And I'm like, well, why is that? And they're like, well, because you're on that medication, it can be kind of hard on your liver. And so I'm like, this isn't something I want to do. And so I started to dive into how can I heal myself? And so that's when I started finding out, like what was going on with my gut. And it was the antibiotics that was causing all the bloating and distension and pain. And then what can I also do to help the pain in my bladder on a daily basis? And conventional medicine was not helping me because they just wanted to give me these prescriptions. And so I went on to a website for interstitial cystitis, and I started reading all that kind of information and educating myself on the do's and don'ts and like the foods that could irritate, and which I was taking cranberry forever. And that was one of the things for someone with interstitial cystitis, you don't want to take cranberry. It's very acidic and it bothersome. So, learning and educating myself along the way was the biggest thing of how I have transformed my life with the pain. I had chronic pain with my bladder every single day. And come to find out, like, one of the things, and just like listening to my body and trying to figure it out, was clothing. The clothing that I would wear. And, we went through that phase of, I don't remember, all the low jeans, the super low rise jeans. Oh my gosh. If they ever bring all those back and don't have normal size jeans, I will wear sweatpants the rest of my life, because those jeans killed me. Anything that and so that's why I started learning, like, when I would wear sweats, I would be fine. And then I put my jeans on and I wouldn't be fine. And I'm like, hello, there's something going. So back to that whole thing of listening and paying attention to your body. And as simple as the clothing that I was wearing was causing my bladder to spasm. So, and then there's a fine line of drinking enough water or drinking too much water and then causing my bladder to spasm. So I also had to get into this mental space of talking myself down, of when my bladder was having spasms and I was in a situation where I couldn't put an ice pack on or heating or whatever, and really having to, like, mentally think about it calming down and relaxing. And so I was getting into talking to my body to make my body respond and, do what it needed to do so that I could feel good. So it's definitely a journey, and I'm just so grateful that there's people out there that want to share their stories and share this information. And that's what made Sherry and I so passionate about, the things that we've gone through. And then to follow that up with all the gut stuff, and then having to go through that journey, because in my late 30s and 40s, it was just a mess. And, so I had gotten the IC under control, but now I needed to focus on healing my gut. And that's, we went into what we did to do that, with the collagen and just health, fixing the leaky gut and all of that the antibiotics did to destroy me. So that's my health journey.
Before we go more on to the gut health part, I'm really curious about the cystitis part, because like you said, not a lot of people know what it is. I think I've barely heard in passing something briefly about it in the past. But because I like to give people kind of, actionable tips on this show, since it is kind of an unusual thing, when you started going down that journey, I heard you say that, number one, you were talking to yourself. So a lot of, like, self-awareness, or probably almost like meditative in a way, like just bringing your energy sort of to that area and learning sort of it's kind of an involuntary organ we don't think about much, but usually if you bring your awareness, like if you're in yoga class or you're lifting weights or whatever, if you bring your awareness to a certain body part, you can definitely affect the way that functions. So that's one thing I heard you say. And then the clothing that you're wearing, were there any other thing, and the cranberry juice, so certain dietary things, was there anything else that you can remember thinking of that would be an actionable tip if somebody is struggling with this right now and they might be seeing the title on the podcast, which I'll probably put that in the title now, because since it is kind of an unusual thing, as long as that's okay with you, obviously, but what else could they take away? Is there any other tip that you might have, or thing that you learned along the way?
Oh gosh, yes. There's so much, and you have to kind of gauge it and see what bothers you and what doesn't, because everybody is so different, right? And so some of the things that I read on the website, I'm like, oh no, I need to take that out and take that out and take that out. And you kind of have to figure it out. But so definitely the cranberry and juices and sugars were the biggest thing for me. Anything that was going to cause inflammation. And so some things also that were acidic might bother me more than others. Like, I could eat spicy food, and salsas and tomatoes didn't bother me at all, but the cranberry, I couldn't do that. And anything that was on a daily basis that was acidic, I could not do. And so carbonation is a big no-no. Caffeine is a big no-no. But, now I can tolerate more caffeine because I have healed my bladder more. And the biggest thing I can contribute to the healing of my bladder was aloe vera. And it has to be processed in such a way, and it's not, there's a couple different ways to do it, but like a freeze dried, I actually take like a glyconutrient that has aloe vera in it, and I have for 15 years. And I did that in lieu of doing the medication that they've since taken off the market that would have destroyed my liver. And so that was so healing to my bladder. And then also when I added collagen into my diet daily, I did that for actually hair, skin, nails kind of thing. And then I realized, oh my gosh, my gut is feeling so much better. And then also was helping my bladder because all those tissues, right? It gets in there and it binds and heals and connects all that stuff. So those things, for sure. The clothing, really be cognizant of what bothers you, because like I mentioned, those low rise jeans, but also the high rise now, like anything that's too high. And I don't know if it just pushes down. I don't know. It's crazy, but I have a sweet spot of where something's comfortable. And a lot of times, like even too tight of like a yoga pant or something like that. And so I hear from a lot of women that suffer with bladder issues. I'm like, how many hours a day are you in yoga pants? Because that can cause an issue. So, yeah.
Well, that was fantastic.
Did I answer all those questions?
Yes. No, that's going to be such great information for anybody who happens upon this and has this issue in their life. And I want to come back to the gut health.
And a lot of people, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you go first.
I was just going to say, a lot of people don't realize they have interstitial cystitis because they just think that they're like, oh, I think I have a bladder infection. And I went and I tested negative, or now there's those home kits. And so that's one of the key indicators, is if you don't actually have an infection, it hasn't gotten to that point yet. But the spasming is what, if it doesn't get under control, and that's where this brain comes in, like meditating and try to talk to it. I know it sounds crazy, and to help yourself to relax, because it's a muscle, right? And so when it's spasming and it's tight, so trying to think about relaxing. And then there are things that you can do externally, like I would freeze a water bottle and sit there with it, on my abdomen, and help to relax that muscle. And so that was comforting. And just being able to share that with people is important, because I've struggled with this. My earliest memory of having pain was in the 4th grade. So it sometimes it doesn't affect women until after childbirth, or later on when they're going through menopause, perimenopause. But some people struggle from the time they're a kid, like I did.
That's a shame that you had to deal with that for so long, but glad that it seems to be more under control now. And I think it's wonderful that
for sure.
if people just hearing this at some point, they might, if they ever have that trouble, they might have to suffer for long, because they'll know that it actually is something that can be dealt with and that you can sort of control in some way, luckily without a really toxic pill that we get from the pharmacy. So that's good to know.
Yes.
Before we go on to the gut health stuff, because the collagen is a big part of this story, and I definitely want to get to that. But before that, I would love for you guys to share. I think you said that you've known each other since high school. So how long have you been friends? How did you get to know each other back in school? If you happen to remember that, I can't really remember exactly how I remembered my one friend from high school that I still stay in touch with. But if you can remember that, that would be awesome to hear about. And then we'll move into present day, how you have created this awesome partnership and taken both of your health journeys and kind of combined it to create a company that is now really helping people and putting out some amazing products. So whoever wants to go first about meeting in high school.
Well, yeah, we met in, well, back then we called it junior high school,
middle
7th,
school.
8th, and 9th grade. Yeah, we were both in leadership. That's how we met for the
Yep.
most part. It's a small town back in the day. And, there's only one high school back when we grew up. There's a lot of high schools there now. They've grown. But yeah, we just were in leadership class, and we were good friends all through junior high and high school. And we stayed in touch, but you go and you get married. Well, as a matter of fact, I introduced her to the love of her life.
Yes.
So we were in high school, we were working at Gold's Gym. I met a group of kids, and one of them was Greg, and total handsome dude. And I'm like, you have to meet my friend Gina. And so he came down to Gold's Gym while she was working with me. And then, the rest is history. And they
36 years
had
later,
2 beautiful boys that are gorgeous. And I always tell them that I'm responsible for them. And, and he's a wonderful man. They have a beautiful marriage, and, she's very blessed with that. And so I'm really happy that I could be a part of that. And, yeah. And so we both, went on it with our lives, and we started to reconnect again. I remember when Facebook became popular, everybody kind of reconnected, from high school, and we just have a lot in common. We share the same faith. We love being a mom. We are both health nut nerds from our own health journeys. And so we just started talking all the time. We just had so much in common. We just rebonded as really close friends again. And, and then that's when we, started to talk about, I always knew I wanted to do something in health related for a business. And I did that because, like I said, I took up photography and natural health right when I got cancer. So I accidentally turned photography into a business, and that's kind of what I did, raising my kids while being a health nut. And that was a blessing. And I knew I wanted to take the health and transform it. So collagen are some of our favorite brands. They were starting to source from all over the world in unregulated areas, and kind of not, you couldn't guarantee there wasn't heavy metals, and, kind of laden with some toxins, which is important because collagen is one of those supplements you really need to take every day in order to see the difference and see it build up to youthful levels. You do not want to put something in your body every day if it's laced with heavy metals at a certain level and all that stuff, and pesticides and glyphosate. You have to be very careful. So that's, we really started to source. We've been working on this since the late 2017, where the sourcing and everything. And Gina was just literally in there with me from day one, and we just decided to do it together. And, and that's why so our collagen that we offer is from 100% grass-fed and finished cows. Because you could say grass-fed, it could be grass-fed and then corn-fed, which is where all the glyphosate and all that issue comes in. So you want to be 100% grass-finished. You also want to know that you are clean of glyphosate and pesticides, that the area in which the cattle is being raised naturally, there's no land right next door using glyphosate where it blows over on there. You have to make sure it's really clean. And we're also Prop 65 certified, which is just in California, but those are very strict requirements to keep, really minimal or zero trace, of lead or anything like that, or heavy metals or glyphosate or pesticides. So we're very proud of that. And it's very clean. And we also stick to types 1 and 3, which is 90% of what's the collagen in our body. And with sourcing from this to the 100% grass-fed, more nutrient animals, it's really easy to control that. A lot of the other types you have to branch out and get from chicken or fish or marine and stuff like that. And those are a little harder to regulate. And again, the 90% of the collagen is types 1 and 3 that's in our body, and that's really moves the needle. So like our collagen is so clean, literally my joints feel amazing, because it's like if you don't take your collagen for a while, and as you get older, your joints hurt, especially if you're used to working out. I've done a lot of different, I've done many triathlons and CrossFit and stuff. So you need to make sure you're taking care of your joints as you age. So that really makes a difference. And then we stumbled upon really, because we both enjoy coffee. So, and coffee is one of the most pesticide driven crops. And so we sourced very clean, top 1% of coffee beans in the world, all organically grown, no mycotoxins. And in addition, with the mushrooms, because the mushrooms, I know a lot of people are hearing about that. They have a lot of healing properties. And what we love about the chaga and the lion's mane specifically is that it really helps with the brain, the cognitive function of the brain and the clarity, the mental clarity. And they use it for Alzheimer's too, to help regenerate, memory recall and the neurotransmitters. And so lion's mane, is been phenomenal. And chaga has a lot of gut healing and immunity and stress management support. But here's the thing, like with products that we take, I'm very picky. I like to minimize the stuff that I take, but I also want to maximize the potency of it and the cleanliness of it. So what I love about our coffee is the lion's mane and the chaga, they have over 600 milligrams per mushroom of each one. And that's a therapeutic dose. Like, for example, with lion's mane, they use, in the clinical studies, they use between 500 and 750 milligrams of it daily to start seeing the benefits. A lot of brands, if you actually look in or ask them and you look at the bottom line, they're only 300 or less of lion's mane and chaga per serving, so you can have maybe, 20 different mushrooms, but if they're all low dosages, it's hard for your body to have enough to really move the needle, if that makes any sense. So it's better to have, a therapy. I only like 1 cup of coffee. I don't want to drink 2 cups of coffee or 3 cups of coffee so I can get like the therapeutic dose of the mushroom extract, and our mushrooms are obviously grown. I don't know, I say obviously, but in order for it to be high quality and potent, you want it to grow on the flowering body of the mushrooms, and it'll be organic and harvested here in the United States. So we're very, very picky on the products that we offer. And we want it to make sure it's moving the needle. It's not like the latest fad or like what's selling, or like, we can say all these things to, be more gimmicky or try to figure out how we can get a bigger profit margin. We're people first, because we care about our health and our products we take every day. And we want friends and family, and all of you out there, like, it's from our kitchen to your kitchen. We want to give you nutrients. We want to make you happy. We're here for you. We're here to serve people, and we want to help you with your health. We want to share with you, the truth about our product and why we chose what we chose, Yeah. So, and we're both into that. We have a lot of integrity, both Gina and me. So it's important to us, to have products that really, really move the needle. We won't sell anything that doesn't move the needle, or we take that we don't take personally.
Yeah, that's why one reason
does that answer your question?
Absolutely. And one reason why, when I got your kind of pitch about being on the show, I'm very picky too. This is why people come to my site, because I'm always looking for, is it made in a GMP facility, which is good manufacturing practices, if you haven't heard of that before. And are they third-party tested for toxins, for all the things that you mentioned, glyphosate, which is like so pervasive in everything now. And a lot of companies don't do that. And there's so many supplements on the market that don't test for any of those things, that aren't that high quality. And so really, I was so thrilled to find out about your brand and to learn about all the ways that you test and all the things that you're doing to ensure quality. So I'm glad that you shared all of that with everyone. And as a follow-up, Gina, when you were taking, so obviously you had your husband all along, apparently, from Chery, but when you reconnected on the business part, you had already been taking collagen as well. So were you kind of seeing some of the same things in the supplements in the market that you weren't happy with? And, what was your sort of vision for this when you guys came together on this product?
So, when we reconnected, we just, it was really cool, because we both became Christians, and then we were both into this health space. And, I was so thrilled to reconnect with Chery, because I had heard through the rumor mill that she had passed away, and I was so devastated and heartbroken. And I remembered like just, oh, I could cry, like thinking about that. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. And then I saw her sister on Facebook, and I looked to see who she was friends with and realized she's alive. So it must have been that whole, when she was going through cancer and stuff. And so somehow it got spread that she was, had passed. So anyway, I remember the conversation and where I was like sitting down in my closet when Sherry called me, because I gave my phone number to her sister, and then Sherry just called me, and it was like, oh my gosh. And do you remember that, Sherry? And we were
Yeah.
on the phone for like hours,
Yeah.
just telling everything that transpired over the years. And because Greg and I had moved from where we were living, and when we were first married, and then moved a couple hours or an hour and a half away, and since then had moved to another house. So there's no way that she could have tracked me down, not like it is today. You have the same cell phone number for decades, right?
Right.
So anyway, we rehashed everything. We just had so much in common, and just this health journey, and talking about what worked for her, what worked for me. And, we had that bond with collagen too. And I'm like, which one do you use? And, that kind of thing. And so as the years progressed, like, we were talking, and it's like, yeah, mine's not working that great anymore. And that's when Sherry was like researching a lot into this. She really wanted to develop something with collagen in it. And I'm like, yeah, that is so cool. I would so want to be a part of that. And we were just getting so frustrated, because as a consumer, it's so hard to know what to believe and what to do, and they're saying take this, and they're saying take that. And so we just wanted to strip it away, do something simple, something that people could take, and that would, like we keep saying, move the needle. And I don't know what a better terminology than that, because it really, for us, it really did. And I know everybody's different, and everybody's going to have a little bit different outcome, but from everybody that we have talked with, and especially now with having the business, and we get the feedback, oh, we're just so excited when people email us. So we just love getting the reviews and the responses of like, oh, and this is happening, and this is happening. And it's just, it's really been an amazing experience for that. And we are so passionate about making sure that every I is dotted and T is crossed, and that we are just bringing the best of the best to the public. Like Sherry said, our families, your families, we all need to be in this together, because the pharmaceutical companies have just led us astray. The FDA with our food sources have led us astray. So it's up to us to come together and educate each other and motivate each other to do the good things, because it is a lot easier just to go pick up this fast food, or pick up this supplement from the pharmacy, and because we don't know any better. So once you start learning, and I just love all the people who are like on Instagram that will tell you about the ingredients, right, on packages, like, don't do the red dye number 40, and don't do the red dye, whatever. And so it's just, moms and dads don't know, and so they're feeding these organic fruit snacks that have this red dye in it that's causing behavioral issues in children. I could get on my soapbox and talk forever about food and what the ingredients are in everything. I'm just so passionate about it, because it really affects our brain and our hormones, and our just our whole body from head to toe. So what we put in our bodies is so important. So again, going back to that, we just wanted to bring a simple product that somebody could use every day, that is going to benefit their health. And then we coupled it with organic coffee. It just kind of fell hand in hand, and we're hopeful to bring other things too. But we're in research. Like, we're not going to compromise unless it can be like exactly what we want and we can develop it the way we want it. We won't put it on our site just to sell something else. Because
Yeah, I
people keep
love that.
asking, like, when are you going to come out with other products? And I'm like,
Right.
we're going to, but it's just going to take a minute. So
Yeah, before we wrap up, first of all, I don't know if there's any like little secrets or like one secret thing that's coming soon that you might be able to share or hint at or something like that. We'll come to that at the very end. I was just thinking, so I mentioned at the beginning, because this is like very near and dear to my heart lately, this whole like hair situation. Which I'm have a podcast about. It's like it's a whole mess. And just to follow up on that, I'll do a whole show. But I am getting like a full thyroid panel coming up here, and so long story. But I did mention at the beginning of the show how both of you just have, I mean, I'm like, I guess since I'm overly sensitized to this right at the moment, but lovely, just long, thick looking hair. And of course, that is one of the things that collagen is so well known for. Can you just share with people? I know you've both been taking collagen for a long time. And I think one of the things that you pointed out, and something that I have been remiss on until probably the last 3 to 6 months, I've been super consistent with a higher amount of collagen every single day. I'd been taking kind of a low amount of collagen maybe for the last 3 or 4 years, but in the last several months since all this really came to a head, I've been very, very religious about taking a bigger portion of collagen every single day. So could you just talk a little bit about what you've discovered might be the optimal dosage and maybe how long it took for each of you to really notice a difference? And could you tell maybe more of a difference when you got this higher quality collagen that you started taking? So I just love to hear any commentary around all that.
Yeah, sure. I personally take 15 grams a day. That's what I do. And you also have to eat whole food vitamin C, which will help optimize your collagen. Like squeeze a lemon in water, which I do every morning as I put lemon or lime in water, first thing when I wake up. Absorbic acid vitamin C is not really effective. We could talk for hours about that, and you don't want to put it in your collagen formula either, because there's a whole nother reason why you don't want to do that. But you do want to have vitamin C, whole food vitamin C in your diet too, to optimize. And you can get that in many, many different types of fruits, like lemon, for example. And you don't even have to eat it at the same time. You can have your collagen every morning, just as long as throughout the day you're having some form of vitamin C will really optimize. The other thing I was going to ask you, if you're having your hair issue now, CHERYL, one thing too that I learned personally, and I'll just share it, may not apply to you at all, but if your homocysteine is too high, make sure when you do your blood work, check your thyroid, obviously, because hypothyroid can affect your hair, but your homocysteine too, because if your homocysteine is too high, that will also affect your hair. So I don't know if you know anything about that, but you might want to make note of that. And when you're working with your doctor, just say, can we check my homocysteine just to see if it's really high? Because if it is, then that will affect your hair too. So that,
and it's also really important. Control. You might like this, just to follow up on the homocysteine. Did you follow Peter Attia at all? He's a doctor in California. He has a podcast called The Drive. But anyway, he just had a cardiologist on and a neurologist talking about brain health. And he said, literally, it's like having a golden ticket in your back pocket that if you're not checking your homocysteine level and your omega-3 status for brain health, that you're just like missing out. He said it's the simplest thing. Just supplement omega-3, make sure your homocysteine is low, and like you're golden. So sorry to interrupt, but that was just like he was so adamant about it.
Great.
And he's so like really well known.
I just wrote him down. So The Drive, you said?
Yeah, that's the name of the podcast.
Yeah, and it was check him out. See, I love that. See, that's why we share. Okay, cool. I'm going to listen to that. Thank you.
Since I am getting mine checked for sure. So thank you for that.
Please, yeah. And it's interesting because if you do run high in that, it's because I wasn't also assimilating my vitamin B properly, right? So you need to bring that down. So so that's, I don't know. A lot of people, I guess that MHFTR gene mutation, 30% of the population have it. A lot of people don't know, so you can figure out there's two different main types. You can figure that out too, if you don't know. But, So the collagen, yeah, for me, I maintain between 10 and 15 grams a day. Even on our website, on our product page, we have an FAQ on the bottom. It will say, how much collagen should I take? And we break it down in 3 different categories, like recommendations of, if you are looking to optimize your body to make collagen, you can take like 5 to 10. If you want to maintain your youthful levels as you get older, like 10 to 15. And then, 20 grams plus a day is like if you're trying to repair something, like you got athletic injury, you're trying to just do a temporary repair, or like for me, when I was obliterated, I was killed pretty much with chemo and radiation, because that was a bummer, because the radiation, it killed my thyroid. So I have to take thyroid medicine for the rest of my life. I have no thyroid, all because of the radiation. It's just, and I probably didn't even need that. It was probably overkill to do the radiation. I think the chemo got it, it already pretty much killed me. But so I just maintain 15 grams a day, and it really keeps everything nice. My skin, my hair, my joints, especially. I just want to feel good. That's where I come. I want to feel good. I want to feel healthy. I want to feel alert. I want to feel like I have energy. So that's what I care about most. And then, everything else just falls into place when you're taking care of your health to feel good. Does that make sense?
Right. Totally. Yeah. And Gina, what about you? How much
and
collagen are you taking at this point?
Yeah, I fluctuate because, the gut stuff. And so Sherry is way more dialed on just not ever having anything bad. I, on the other hand, will have probably a little more grain, and I'm trying to she has inspired in me not to. So I'm like trying to really watch it. But so especially for my gut too, but so I will tend to do 15 to 20 a day. Sometimes I'll do a little bit more, especially if I've been working out a little bit more and I'm feeling more achy, in my knees or my elbows. And so I'll take more. But yeah, when I was trying to repair, it's, and it's always good to, when you're starting something new, if you've never done collagen before, obviously we're not doctors, consult your doctor first. But start slowly and then build yourself up. But I was taking, like, I would say 20 to 40 a day when I really was like when I realized, oh, this is beneficial to my gut. And I think it's helping my bladder too, and there aren't any scientific reports or literature on the bladder issue, for healing. I can only just tell you personally what it did for me. And I know that there are more trials out there that they're showing how it is getting in there and healing the gut, especially since collagen is so bioavailable and it gets into our system like in 6 hours. And it gets in there and it starts repairing different things. And there's such a big amino acid profile to collagen versus when you're talking proteins and proteins. Animal protein that we eat, we're just not getting that same amino profile as in collagen. And so those different amino acids that are in collagen are so important because we're not eating those things that we did back in the day. We're not eating from snout to tail, and we're not eating pig's feet and chicken wings and, getting all that. So all that to say that you're definitely getting a more nutrient dense supplement with collagen. So can you live your life without it? Yeah. But if you do take collagen, you're getting a more nutrient dense profile to enrich your overall health, and with that, I feel like our bodies, when you take a supplement that can do so many different things, and so there are all those different amino acids, right, in collagen, and our bodies will triage, like they know what needs to go where, right? So when you're taking it, it may start to repair something before something else because it's the more important thing. So,
Yeah, it's amazing how
but I'm not a
intelligent our
scientist.
bodies are.
This is just my philosophy from
No,
taking
I
it for
think
15 to 17 years, you know? So I noticed certain things first and then started to notice other things. So, yeah, it definitely, and then we went through that period of time where Sherry used one brand. I was loyal to this other brand. And my gosh, it just doesn't seem like my collagen isn't as effective. And we kind of were chatting about that. And then come to find out both of those companies were sold out. They were no longer, it wasn't this family owned company, the one that I was using and the company that Sherry was buying from. They both are, sold out to different bigger corporations, and the sourcing wasn't there. I couldn't find the documentation that I once had looked into when I first started taking it. Wasn't there. It was no longer on their website. So,
yeah,
and then
unfortunately, that
Yonder was
happens a
born.
lot in the health space. Yeah, it happens a lot in the health space, and it's
Yeah.
good for people to be aware of that, to
Yeah.
kind of continually check up on things or make sure that if it's sold or a different company is now running it, to kind of redo your research, unfortunately. That kind of brings us to, you mentioned the name of the company, Yonder. So if we can just close it out here with obviously the name of your website, where people can find you. It sounds like you're also both active online, so if you can just share some of your links and places that people can get to know you better and to try out the product if they'd like to do that.
Yeah, sure. Well, Yonder Food, no S at the end, .com is our website. And that's our social media handle too. So at Yonder Food for Instagram, mostly is where we post. And it goes on Facebook as well.
And we
And
have
yeah,
so.
yeah, and we would love, for anyone to come and join us. And I know Gina and I both have a personal Instagram as well, so we love to interact with other people going down a health journey and answer questions about our products, and give us a try and join our family. We'd love that. If those are types of products that you consume and have any interest, we're here for you to support you. Yeah. So,
or if you have questions about cancer and radiation or interstitial cystitis, yeah, just reach out. Yeah, we'd love to chat with you.
Yeah,
awesome.
sure.
And all those links
Thank
will be in
you.
the show notes too, of course. So thank you guys, both guys. I hate it when I say that. Thank you, ladies, so much for joining me today.
Gals.
And gals, yeah, something like that. I've tried to get that out of my vernacular just because the world we live in today, it's good to be precise with your language. But anyway, I just want to thank you both so much for taking the time to do this today. I loved so much learning more about your health journeys and your experience and all your wonderful tips that you given to people. So thanks so much again, and hope we stay in touch in the future.
Oh,
sounds
absolutely.
Great.
It was
Thank
so
you,
great.
CHERYL. Thank you so much.
It was great meeting you.
Yeah.